Hi there, Miles. I'm Mikey Brown from a band called Outside In, a prog rock band from New Zealand. I live in New Zealand currently, which I'm pretty grateful for right now with all the things that are going on globally.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm sorry. What part of New Zealand did you say you're in?
I'm from Auckland, New Zealand,
Oh yes,
so it's the
Auckland. Okay.
biggest city.
Yep, yep. Yeah. So you guys in New Zealand, I mean, granted you're an island,
It's an
very,
advantage.
yeah, you're quite far away from a lot of areas. I mean, Australia would be like the biggest landmass near you, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few Pacific Islands in there too, but Australia is the next big thing for sure.
Yeah, and so yeah, you guys, I think by many estimates, have done possibly one of the best as far as handling COVID in the entire world. I mean, you
We're
you
pretty
guys,
well. We're pretty lucky to be an isolated island, but and some New Zealanders will tell you that's the only reason that we've managed to do so well. But I believe our leadership here has done a fantastic job as well, and so combine that good leadership with obviously the isolated element. We've had a pretty lucky situation, really. We've had a couple of lockdowns, but they've only been sort of, I think 4 weeks was one of the longest ones we had, and then we've had like a 1 or 2 weeker since then as well. But compared to the rest of the world, that's nothing. So we're
yeah, I'm
pretty grateful.
guessing you didn't have like men with large rifles protesting at the state capitals to protest a virus like we did here. That was
Thankfully, not.
that was a bit.
There are conspiracy theorists here, but thankfully they're kind of smaller groups. And look, I'm partial to a good conspiracy theory too, but there has to be some actual evidence to go with it. And some of the stuff that these guys are claiming is actually, yeah, it's just laughable.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, yeah, definitely. There are things out there that I have my questions about. But I remember when this first started, one of the craziest ones of all of them was they thought that somehow the COVID was because of 5G towers,
Yep,
which is like I don't think 5G is probably good for you, but I don't think it
exactly.
also caused I don't think it caused a virus.
So there's a
Um,
lot in between.
yeah,
5G might not be the best thing to have a tower next to a primary school or a kindergarten or something, and 5G is caused by COVID is caused by 5G. There's so much in between that before you start getting to these like deep conspiracies about it, or people saying that the vaccine has somehow got a microchip in it, or some of the other crazy stuff that we've heard over here.
I started interviewing people in New Zealand actually last year back in I think around November, and so I realized just now I actually had the chance to interview a couple of people on your friends list, like Manu Francois
Oh yeah.
and a couple other people,
Oh cool.
and I've been checking out all this different music in New Zealand, and I mean it's just amazing. Like first off, you guys have a great country for shooting music videos in, and
Yep.
I mean,
Very
it
nice
seems,
natural landscape here, eh? We're a bit spoilt for choice. I mean, our
yeah,
first video was filmed at Bethel's Beach, and it's not the most original place to shoot a video. It turns out quite a few New Zealand bands have thought of that idea, but it just looks like this amazing, vast, sand duney, almost like a Star Warsy sort of location. So we just went for it, and yeah, there's some beautiful scenery around that you can take advantage of. Eh?
touch my face the same way. Still I cannot separate them. Pictures of the unknown. These colors no longer glow along my heart. And I will carry on, I will love. No beginning and there is no end. Only spirals and circles, my friend. And listen to the words of nothing. And the voice of my father, the voice of my soul, leave behind this shall I ever know. I surrender to the Lord's and
Glimmers in the distance, but the wound continues to burn. The central question of life: who are you? What do you feel? My sense of consciousness, locked up in a bag of skin.
flower that slowly blooms inside to reveal what was there all along. Brings the ending of the night. Every voice will sing this same song. Leave these scars and wounds behind that I thought were part of me. Watch them float away on the wind line. They will never end again. No beginning and no end. Only spirals and cycles, my friend. Listen to the words of nothing. And the voice of my father, the voice of my soul, leave behind this shadow outgrown. I surrender to the words I've read beyond.
Cool.
How would you describe your band's music?
I mean, it's progressive rock is probably the easiest blanket sort of phrase for it. I mean, we're influenced by other prog rock bands, Tool, Perfect Circle, Radiohead, Pink Floyd, sort of like prog bands that have pop sensibility as well. I listen to a bit of pop. I listen to a wide range of different genres of music, and so when the guys present a track with certain crazy time signatures and things, always my goal is to put in something melodically catchy and familiar enough that a listener can still tap along and find something to grab onto, even if the band is playing something that's a bit more complicated, like in a 9/8 or an unusual timing. So yeah, I guess progressive rock, but with some pop sensibilities thrown in there.
And how long ago did the band form?
Me and the guitarist have been working together in over 10 years, and our previous band that we had together kind of evolved into this new project. We had some members come and go around 2012, and that's where we officially sort of became Outside In and renamed our band as Outside In. So 2012 was really the official time, but me and Johnny have been working together for 12 years or something now.
Okay, and well, we can kind of plug it a few times, but where are some places that people can find your music?
Spotify is obviously a pretty common place for people to go, but all the streaming services have our debut album on there. If somebody was sufficiently enthused by our stuff, they can support the band by buying our tunes off Bandcamp. But yeah, everywhere where you can stream music, all the usual suspects.
And so right now, what is the getting back to COVID for a second? What is the situation there in New Zealand? Is the government? I mean, helping people get the vaccine if that's what they want to do, or
Yeah, it's starting to come out now. The vaccine just has recently started to become available, and I believe they're working on a trans-Tasman bubble between us and Australia. So Kiwis and Aussies will be allowed to travel between the two countries. I think that's rolling out in the next few weeks, which obviously there's mixed enthusiasm about that across our nation as well. There's the people that sort of support the government, and then there's the people that don't, and therefore any decision that's made is almost wrong in those people's eyes. So it's I'd hate to be the one making the calls. I'm not super enthusiastic about the travel bubble because I think we've done so well, and I would say probably better than Australia, but that's up for discussion as well. But I just think it's exposing ourselves to risk quite early on.
Have you all have had basically no travel in and outside of the country for the last year now?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's been really limited. Apart from obviously there's Kiwis returning home in a steady trickle, which then they have to spend like 2 weeks in a quarantine hotel before they can come out into the public.
Okay, for my American listeners, now, if I'm not mistaken, a Kiwi is kind of a term for somebody who lives in New Zealand.
Someone who's a New Zealand citizen who's where they're allowed to come home. So yeah, there's been a constant stream of New Zealanders returning home because a lot of Kiwis like to relocate to places like London, where obviously it's quite intense lockdowns been going on. So I think maybe they're willing to brave a 2 or 3 week quarantine, whatever it is.
I live in a shell. It fits me well, keeps me on the ground. Inside I'm spinning round. Today I'm dropping out. Pretty colors on a screen, pull me in and comfort me. Follow the river downstream towards a solitary tree and wait there for me. Is this really all that it means to be alive? I call out of the window of my shell. This paper worthless, we agree, has bought and sold democracy for a piece of pie we cannot eat. Eye on a prize we'll never see. Your God is your greed. Is this really all that it means to be alive? I call out of the window into the night. There's a tree standing by
Okay, I gotta ask this one song I saw on your YouTube page. I believe it's called Mushrooms. I was really digging it because I mean, please tell me more about it, but it seems like it was related to somebody being in a lockdown and then going and having a trip, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so that was what the video clip was about. It was actually, we kind of wrote it on the phone to each other whilst we were in lockdown. The song was already released, but we wanted to make a video for it. So my brother is an actor and director, and Johnny, who's actually in the video, is our guitar player, but also like he's the band videographer. So Ashton and I, my brother and I, we wrote the treatment for the music video and then pitched it to Johnny, and then he self-filmed and acted in it from lockdown, and then we just sent them the files over to our editing guy and told him what we were after. And yeah, we just thought, I mean, I'm sure there's lots and lots of cliche sort of lockdown related music coming out at the moment, which we didn't want to fall into too much, but it was kind of a really relevant time and opportunity to mark that passage of time without sort of dwelling on it too heavily. So yeah, the song is about tripping on mushrooms, so we just incorporated that into what we were actually dealing with at the time.
Awesome. All right, so one more time, for those listening in Door County, Wisconsin, and throughout Wisconsin and so forth, tell us the name of your band once more and where people can find it.
So we are Outside In. We're a progressive rock band from New Zealand, influenced by bands like Radiohead, Tool, Perfect Circle, Pink Floyd, Carnival. It's sort of accessible prog rock, so it's got quite catchy elements and some sort of sing-along moments in a few of the tunes. Hopefully some sort of catchy, memorable choruses and things. And I guess if you want to interact with us and keep in touch with us, then Facebook or Instagram are good places to start, where we actually sort of keep you in the loop of what we're doing, but also you can find all of our releases to date and links to all of our Spotify and YouTube and everything from there. If you want to interact with us or drop us a line, those are the two places where you can get in touch. If you want to actually financially support us, you can go to Bandcamp and you can purchase music, t-shirts. We did some postcards. A New Zealand photographer friend of mine actually did a photograph for each song. So we've done some postcards with the lyrics on the back and the photograph that represents each song. You can buy the book that the album is based on, which is a classic novel called Siddhartha, which is written by a guy called Hermann Hesse in the 1920s. And so actually each song is representing a chapter from that book. So there's quite a lot of layers and Easter eggs and little hidden gems throughout the music that relates to the book. But you can enjoy the music without reading the book if you're not into the book. But it's, the book is about a sort of guy who wants to become enlightened and doesn't find it in the religion that he's brought up in, so goes and on this sort of journey. And the book kind of represents the 8 Noble Truths of Buddhism as well. There's a lot of Buddhist influence in the book, but again, it's not super religious. Anyone who's interested in just self-development and self-growth or a little bit of spirituality can enjoy the book. And then, it affected me a lot, so I then married songs to chapters, and we ended up making it into a conceptual thing. So there's a lot of hidden layers and stuff that can be discovered outside of the music if you're that way inclined. We're actually currently working on like a theatre show presentation of our album, I guess you'd call it, where we'll have a seated audience and we'll have some acting and dance elements incorporated with the show, and we're going to play the album through in its entirety and try and really enhance that storytelling aspect of what we're trying to do here. So there'll be a huge LED screen backing the stage, which would have scene changes relevant to the songs and what we're talking about in the music. There'll be some light readings in between songs to tie in that storytelling sort of element, and it's going to be like the full psychedelic experience. Really, that's the sort of goal here. So that's our next big project that we're working on.
All right. Well, awesome. Thank you, Michael, for coming on today, and
Thanks for
everybody
having me.
should check out his work.